Greetings, folks. Day 7 of the three-legged race to the Áras, a comedy of errors as Ireland gathered around the telly last night, snacks in hands, hearts half hopeful to watch the first presidential debate on The Tonight Show. But what we got, folks, was less race to the Áras and more like a three-legged stumble down O'Connell Street at closing time. The candidates, Catherine Connolly, Jim Gavin and Heather Humphreys, three people who somehow make you long for the charisma of a wet Weetabix. Heather Humphreys, Fine Gael's offering, deserves a gold medal, not in leadership, but in Olympic-level platitudes. If waffle were an art form, she'd be our Picasso. We need more Gardaí. We must come together. We'll have a conversation. By the end of it, you'd swear her manifesto was just one long coffee morning, serving no biscuits. She promised dialogue, like Oprah handing out cars. You get a conversation, you get a conversation, and sure, everybody gets a conversation. But don't ask what the conversation is about. Even Heather doesn't know. Then came Catherine Connolly, the left-wing nun with a megaphone. Every sentence delivered like a sermon in a cold convent. All thunder and no tea. She scolds, she condemns, she mutters neoliberal like a swear word. Housing is a human right, she declares. True, but when it came to solutions, she vanished faster than your rent money. You half expected her to end the night by assigning us all penances and 3 Hail Marys for believing in capitalism. And then there was Big Jim Gavin. Bless him, the only one who seemed vaguely human. He smiled and pointed, very similar to Micheál Martin, and told us that he always loved the NFL. That's lovely, Jim, but can the Buffalo Bills fix the housing crisis in Kerry? Probably not. Still, compared to the others, he looked like a smaller version of JK or Putin in a county jersey. You almost wanted to vote for him just for seeing him normal, which tells you everything about the state we're in this race for the Áras. By the end, it felt less like a presidential debate and more like watching a GPS system argue over directions while the country sits in the back seat, wondering if we'll ever arrive to our destination. Social media thought Connolly won, which is likely saying you preferred the least burnt slice of toast. Humphreys fans, both of them, said she was steady, which is true, in the same way porridge is steady. Big Jim Gavin's supporters just sighed and said, look, at least he tried and didn't make a complete fool of himself. Me, I will be despoiling my vote at the ballot, not out of apathy, but in sheer protest. I might even write in Bono or Mrs. Brown's name or a particular inspirational sheepdog. At least they bring some life to the Áras. Because this is what the establishment has served us. 3 flat candidates, so bland that you could season them with salt and still taste nothing. It's like Ireland's got no talent and the judges are asleep. Maybe we deserve better, or maybe we just deserve a good laugh on the way down. Either way, I'll be voting for none of the above with pride, and maybe a doodle of a leprechaun holding a middle finger. God bless Ireland. We're still the funniest country on earth, even when the joke's on us. But my friends, do you know what's worse than being sued in America by a company that doesn't exist? Losing your country to people who don't even know where Knocknagoshel is. Now, Captain Kieran Kelly, God love him, got dragged into a US courtroom for defamation by a Danish company. That, well, wait for it, wasn't even real. Then the US judge gave him a judgment anyway. A judgment for a ghost. You couldn't make this shite up. It's like being chased by a leprechaun with a solicitor or fined by a tooth fairy for speaking bad Irish. And when the bailiffs went looking for the company, sure, it didn't exist. They'd have more luck collecting rent from the tooth fairy. If that's not a scam, I don't know what it is. But then you see, folks, Ireland's turning into something similar to this. We're being sued, silenced and sold out by people who couldn't find Mayo on the map and think Knocknagoshel is a new crypto coin. You couldn't make this shite up. It's time to call it what it is, a con job for the Irish people. And yet we see Captain Kieran Kelly, yes, captain, not from a Ryanair flight, but a real one, a patriot leading the Wild Geese movement. He's rallying Irish diaspora from Boston to Ballina, from Sydney to Sligo, from Dubai to Donegal. And sure, half of them are in Boston anyway. But did you know, folks, the biggest voting bloc in America is not the Democrats, not the Republicans. It's the Irish mammy. And God help the politician who crosses her. You try telling an Irish mammy what to do. She'll hit you with a wooden spoon, a cold stare and a decade of guilt. Captain Kieran Kelly's got the passport, but more importantly, he's got the passion. He's saying what we're all been thinking. Ireland is being run by Egypts with no sense of humour and no love of our home. The diaspora, though, love Ireland more than the politicians who run it. They're heartbroken watching what is being handed away to globalists, NGOs and gobshites in shiny suits. You couldn't make this shite up, but they did, and they're calling it progress. But now the Wild Geese are coming home. And this time, they're not bringing shamrocks and songs. They're bringing fire, faith and fierce love for Ireland. This isn't politics. This is a movement for the ordinary Irish people who work, pay taxes and can't afford a house because half of Dublin's turned into a hotel for Brussels bureaucrats. They're building a real Conservative party, one that loves God, family and common sense, and that tells the truth, even if RTE faints live on air. They're going to give people a voice, a new Irish media too. Think GB News, but with better accents, sharper wit and proper Barry's tea. RTE can keep their lattes and lectures. We'll stick with the truth and taters. And they're going to bring home our best and brightest, the nurses, the doctors, the teachers, the builders, the lads and lassies who built Australia's skyline, while Ireland built red tape and bullshit. We'll say, come home, the kettle's on, the country needs you more than Sydney does. Micheál Martin, Leo Varadkar, they can feel the wind changing. They know the jig is up. They've been dancing for Europe for far too long, and the music's about to stop. Because when the Wild Geese return, Ireland won't just rise, it'll roar. This time, we're not asking for permission. We're not waiting for a grant. We're taking our country back. So raise your voices, wave your flags, and tell the world they may have sold our land, but they'll never sell the Irish soul. And you'll never buy an Irish soul. We are Ireland. We are the Wild Geese. And we are coming home. And we are taking our country back. Gura Míle Maith Agaibh.